Hey folks, this is Vince with Ads Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out Starship Battles. This game is for 2 to 4 players for ages 12 and up, with the average play time being about 30 minutes. This game is pretty straightforward. Blow the crap out of your opponent and be the last one standing. But what's cool about this game is that you can draft your component cards that are cards that help you attack or defend or repair, that kind of thing, at the very beginning. So you never know what kind of ship you're going to have whenever the game starts. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Alright, components and game setup. Now, it looks like Rainbow Bright threw up all over my table, but I assure you there is a method to this madness. Each player gets 3 red cards, 3 yellow cards, 3 blue cards, 1 purple, and 2 green. The red, yellow, and blue cards are your ship component cards. Red is for attack, blue is for defense, and yellow is for cargo/support. They do various things. Now, as far as the blue and green cards, as far as I can tell, green is for crew, and purple is for scenarios. And the reason this I say as far as I can tell, because they're not mentioned anywhere on the component section of the rulebook. So it's like, why do I have all these cards when they're not mentioned under the component section? Now, there is a reference to scenarios in the rulebook, and there's also a mention to dealing 2 crew cards to each player during game setup. But it doesn't tell you what color they are as far as what color backs they have. Through process of elimination, I figured out obviously that green was crew, because if you flip them over, you'll see things like gunner, engineer. But what it doesn't tell you is, well, what happens if you get 2 of the same type? Do you get rid of one and then deal a new card so that you have 2 different types? Can you use 2 of the same type? If you get 2 of the same type, can you use their ability twice? That kind of thing. So the manual is very vague when it comes to the green cards, the crew cards. The scenarios, again, there is a small section here for it. It goes on to say that the scenarios are sort of like extra objectives that players are going to be trying to accomplish. But the main objective here is to be the last one standing. Blow your opponents up. That's it. To me, these are sort of just extra cards that, add extra flair to the game. And for that reason, I'm not going to use them. You can play the game without the purple and without the green cards. In fact, I recommend you do so that you can learn the core mechanics. And then when you feel comfortable, you can add these 2 card types in when you feel that you want more of a challenge or you just want more oomph to the game. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these. Now, before I do that, it's worth noting that these purple cards, some of them are cooperative in nature. And they change the rules of the game. Like you've got Pirate Fleet here, Pirate Battle Cruiser. These are cooperative scenarios, and instead of blowing each other up, players can work together to destroy these cards. So instead of playing a competitive game, you can play a cooperative game. But again, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to opt to just skip that. Now, again, getting back to game setup, 3 red, 3 yellow, 3 blue for each player. These black ones are turned face down so that you cannot see the number on the reverse side. And the damage markers, it doesn't matter what side they are, they flip. They go 1 and then 2, and then you've got 3 and then 4. These markers are put onto cards as they take damage, so you can keep track of what card is about to be destroyed or will be destroyed at the end of the turn. Alright, so at this point, players are going to look at their cards and decide which ones they want to pass off to their opponent. Sort of like a drafting process, sort of. You're going to give 1 card for each color. So this player is going to look at his red cards, give this one up. Take a look at his yellow cards, maybe he'll give this one up. And then look at his blue cards and maybe give this one up. And then this player is going to do the same thing. Let's say he wants to give this one up, and this one up. Obviously, you're going to want to look at your cards before you do that. But to keep this video moving, I'm going to opt to do that. And then they basically just switch cards. Again, if you're playing more than 2 players, you're going to pass those cards clockwise to the other player. So there we go. Alright, so you should end up with 3 cards of each color, but not necessarily the same cards. They're going to be different because you passed some off and you got some back. So that's basically game setup. Once you do that, you're going to flip these over so that you can reveal what you have. Now, this is where the little number in the bottom right-hand corner of these cards come into play. And apologies, my refrigerator just kicked on. About an ice maker. Anyway, you're going to flip these cards over, and you'll notice a little number in the lower right-hand corner. Those are your, I don't want to say squad points, but those are like points. These serve as a card's health and the points that they're worth at the beginning of the game. Meaning that each player gets 14 of these points that they can basically observe at the beginning of the game. And they're going to have to make some cuts here in order to keep their ship point total at 14 or less. So we've got 1, 3, 4, 7, 11, 14, 17, 21, 22. So this player here is going to have to get rid of some of their cards in order to bring their ship count down to, or their ship point cost down to 14 in order to keep things balanced. And this player is going to have to do the same thing. Now you can, if you want to, opt to increase that number from 14 to say 17 or 18 if you feel that 14 isn't high enough for you folks. Like if you want to add more ship cards to the game, more ship component cards, then do like 20 or something. Now for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to keep all of them. Granted, it's probably not realistic and it may not be balanced, but we're not actually playing a game here. I'm just sort of showing you how the game is played. So yeah, there you go. You've got these cards revealed now, and then you're ready to begin the game. Alright, so the game is broken up over a series of turns, and each turn has 7 phases. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not. The first phase is draw attack markers. What you're going to do is you're going to take a look at your cards, mainly your attack cards, and count the number of these symbols that you see. You've got this little ship firing weapons. So you've got 1, and then 2, 3, and then 4. So you're going to take that many black markers, and you're going to take a look at them. Again, these remain face down in this pile over here, so you can't see what you're drawing. And then you're going to go ahead and look at them. After you look at them, oh, that's good. Good example. There's a 0 in here. After you look at them, you're going to go ahead and take a look at the number of these yellow symbols or command symbols that you have. And these allow you to switch out any zeros that you have. So I've got a 2, I've got a 2, I've got a 1, and I've got a 0. Because I have a 0, I can use one of these yellow symbols to switch this out. Now you may end up with another 0, but in this case I got a 1, so that's good. Alright, so that's for me. And then my opponent over here has 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's got 2 of these. No, does he have any zeros? Normally you wouldn't be able to see what your opponent has. Okay, no zeros. Okay, so now that we've done that, that ends the first phase. Draw attack markers. Next, we place attack markers. Basically, you're choosing who you're going to attack. In a 2-player game, you're just going to attack the other person. So you're just going to put these in front of your opponent like that. If we're playing with 3 people or whatever, you'd maybe have 1 over here and then 3 to this person or 2 to this person, whatever. You're going to split them up however you want. And the opponent here is going to do the same thing to me. Okay, there we go. Alright, and that's the place attack markers phase. Next, the third part, or the third phase of a turn, is draw defense markers. You're going to count the number of these blue ones you have here, and again, take so many face down. These are used for a lot of different things. So I've got 5 of those, so I'm going to draw 5. And same thing, you're going to take a look at how many command icons you have, and then switch out any zeros. So you've got 1, 0 here. I'm going to switch out. 3, 2, okay, this is a good one. Okay, so I'm going to put that back and draw, okay, 1. Okay, so we're good there. And then the opponent's going to do the same thing. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's going to draw 4, 3, 4. And this is for defense, mind you. Okay, that's a 0. He's going to switch that out. 2, 3, 3. Okay, he's going to switch that and draw that. Okay, 2. All right. Alright, so this is his defense, and what you can do during the fourth phase is place your defense markers. So the attack and defense part is very similar to one another. So I'm going to go ahead and do, like, I'm going to assign this to this one, this to this one. I don't know what my opponent's strength is for each of these markers, but I'm just going to, throw some down like this. I'm going to go ahead and do a second one like that. Okay. And then my opponent's going to do the same thing. He's going to try and block this one, try and block this one, try and block this one, and do that. Okay. Alright, so that is the first 4 phases of a player's turn, attacking and defense. Alright, now the 5th phase of a player's turn involves taking damage. These attack markers are flipped over. So you've got a 2, you've got a 1, you've got a 1, and you've got a 3. And you're going to flip these defense markers over. Alright, so there's a 1 there. There's a 2 here. There's a 3. And there's a 2. Okay, and you can also flip this. Okay, so this defense was overkill here. But again, players don't know what the other number is going to be, so they're sort of just guessing. Now, in terms of what kind of damage you take, you're going to subtract the attack minus the defense, and that's how much damage you take for that particular attack. So in this case, there's a 2 and a 1, so that's 1 damage got through. This 1 went up against 5 defense, so no damage there. 1 and 3. This one was defended against because 1 is less than 3. 3 is bigger than 2, however, so that's 1 more point of damage. So this player now has 2 points of damage that he has to assign. Now, luckily, he can choose where to put it. So he's going to go ahead and place either a 2 somewhere, or you can split that damage up. Let's say he decides to take 1 damage here, and say 1 damage here. Okay? So that is that, and the opponent will go ahead and do the same thing. The 6th phase is the repair phase, and basically you're going to draw a number of these markers. Again, they're used for a lot of things. They're called ADR markers, attack, defense, repair, ADR. But you're going to count the number of these repair tokens you have, draw that many, and then you're going to assign repair to these different damages here. So you've got 1 and 0, pretty unlucky, but this 1 can repair this 1 here. So this goes away like that, and again the opponent will go ahead and do the same thing. After that, you're going to destroy your ship compartments. That's the last thing that you do on a player turn. That's the 7th phase, destroy ship components. If you happen to have a number of damage markers on your ship component equal to or greater than the number in the bottom right-hand corner listed here, it gets destroyed and removed from the game. So let's say that there was 1 point of damage here, and he couldn't repair it before the turn was over. At the end of that turn, or on the 7th phase there, this card would go away because there's 1 point of damage, and it can only take 1 point of damage. Alright, and that concludes an entire turn. Okay, so there you have it, a quick look at Starship battles. It's important to stress that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just to give you a general overview so that you could see how the game was played. As far as what I thought, it's not a bad game. It definitely is a streamlined space battler, and for that I really like it. You know, sometimes I don't want to have to play a 4X in order to get a 4X strategy game, that is, in order to get my, space combat fix in. This game is perfect for that. It's nice and quick. It plays in less than 30 minutes. One thing I don't like about it, I think the instructions are half-baked. I think more explanation could have been given for the purple scenario cards and the green crew cards. Again, what happens if you get 2 of the same crew card? What happens? Do you draw a new one? Do you, just keep both? What? So the manual doesn't really go into that. If you're creative, I'm sure you can come up with your own variant on what to do with these. Personally, I don't think you really need them. I think that these cards here, the green and the purple ones, were like last-minute additions to the game to sort of give it some extra flair. But really, you don't need to use them if you don't want to. So my advice is just stick with the blue, yellow, and red cards to begin with. And then when you feel comfortable, go ahead and add in the green and the purple cards. But other than that, besides the hiccup with the rules and the ignorance of what to do with these purple and green cards, fully. I mean, granted, a lot of it's self-explanatory, but there's still a few questions I have. But besides that, everything else is great about it. The back of these cards are very colorful. They're very sharp colors. I really like the art in this game. Very easy to play. A lot of fun, too. It's a little random. If you have more than 2 people playing, you could have the potential for people to team up on others. So if you're playing with kids, watch out for that. If you've got 3 kids playing, there may be a brother and a brother teaming up on a sister or something. I don't know. But you get the idea. There could, since you're picking your targets and you're choosing how much attack to put here and here, it could be possible that 2 people might team up on 1. But again, there is cooperative in here. So you could, set some ground rules. All right, since you fight a lot, play a cooperative game and be done with it. They can work together to destroy a pirate fleet or something. So this game has a lot of content for the $20 price tag. You can find it on the Game Crafter. I'll have a link in the below description for you. If you guys want to see my written review, you can www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already, subscribed to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I'm going to publish. This is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.